Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Talking About Money podcast, hosted by Oakford Financial Coaching, which is basically just me, Stephen Betcher. Today, I'm with my brother-in-law, Andrew. He is the CEO, founder of Bloom Audio, which is a highly successful e-commerce audio company. Andrew, do you want to talk about your company a little bit before we get rolling?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm glad that you had your first three favorite people in your life on your podcast first. So glad to be number three in that order. Bloom Audio. I started it a little over 7 years ago.
Wow, 7 years.
I could probably go into at some point kind of like my background in terms of what led me to start Bloom, but essentially Bloom is an online audio store. We're at this point one of, if not like the largest, like specialty, like boutique audiophile audio store for consumers and pro audio enthusiasts.
So you sell pretty solid quality audio equipment, and you've been very successful. And you just gave me a tour of your office here. It's huge. The inventory warehouse space was awesome. So it's really great to see how well it's going. I remember when you were just getting started. So
yeah.
Andrew, my first question, I usually start these by talking about childhood.
Okay.
So I'm also, just for more background, I'm friends with Andrew's younger brother and sister, Johnny and Emily. So I knew your parents, obviously, growing up. I spent a lot of time playing at your house. Your dad is a doctor, highly successful, high reputation doctor. And you guys had money growing up. What's funny for me, so as a kid, just the connections you make, it didn't click to me that you guys, had a good amount of wealth growing up. The pool didn't click, some of the other nice things didn't click, the nice house didn't click, the separate garage that was stocked full of food. None of it ever clicked to me. Where it clicks to me that you guys might have money was your dad took me and my dad and Johnny and Em to a Phillies game, and he bought us hot dogs there. And that's when I was like, whoa, he has money. Because anytime, I would only go to games with my dad at when someone was being generous and kind to us. Mm-hmm. And whenever we would go, we're filling our pockets with candy bars.
That was probably early in your life. Though.
Yeah, it was.
I was going to say in your teen years.
No, it got better.
Yeah,
that was part of the story.
Okay.
That was part of my story. Like, when my teen years, when everyone else moved out, it got better for me. As a kid, I still remember it.
Okay.
So, anyway, Mr. D bought us hot dogs. That was a big deal because buying stadium food was totally unheard of.
Yeah,
so
I get that.
What I love, though, in particular about your parents, because I think a lot of people like to daydream of like, oh, man, if I had money, I would bless people this way, that way. And your parents really do that, because sometimes when people do get that money, the promises that they had to themselves don't always follow. Whereas your parents are extremely generous. Like, your parents are what people would hope they would be with money. So they're known for being generous, and I'm just curious, how did their idea of generosity contribute to your view of wealth?
Contributed a lot. I think the foundation, the biblical foundation that they gave me of stewardship, generosity, living below your means, being diligent to save, not chasing after worldly possessions and materialism. Like, I think both of my parents in different ways instilled that a lot. My dad, he's just a very like diligent and professional person in like all aspects of life. So, when he got married, my mom was supporting him as he was going to school. They had very little money, I think up until probably his early 30s before you get out of residency and actually like make a decent income. So
it takes a long time to make money as a doctor.
I don't think too much like about the way that my dad thought about money changed. I know it, things change over the years, but I think just like his like, kind of like discipline and kind of like conservative nature of dealing with money, had an effect on me. And then my mom, on the other hand, was kind of more in like the, looking out for other people who she could bless. She definitely like just had a desire to, use their finances to like honor the Lord through giving and through just helping other people. I just think like she's always been such an example of someone who's just like her eyes are open to the needs of people around her.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are people who you can just tell, even not with finances, just with the time and the energy that they give to things, they're very people oriented. So, I mean, your dad has helped my family with medical concerns for my brother with Crohn's disease. You know, we would take different x-rays and show it to your dad to get a free opinion. Yeah. When my wife had cancer, we showed your dad videos of her cancer stuff to get his opinion. So he's helped us that way. And then your mom, just a quick note, she runs a food ministry at the church, and I think so. She drives around. It's a massive ministry, collecting food that otherwise would be going to waste, would be thrown out. She collects it, gathers it, organizes and runs a whole team, and people come to church and they get free food. I mean, these are single mothers that go there and can feed their whole families just because of your mom's efforts. And I think someone ran an estimate like she's like over $1 million saved total over the years, like millions, multiple millions of dollars
of food that's filtered through the church.
Yeah, absolutely. So saving that money for her community. And just the one final thing that I'll say about them is just in terms of generosity, like anytime someone comes into their community, if you're like from out of town and you just moved in and you don't have family, you don't have friends, meet Mark and Sheila and they'll get you plugged. They'll invite you to Easter. They'll invite you to Thanksgiving, where they host everybody. They cook huge meals for everybody. Yeah. So they really, like, they have wealth, but they use their wealth to bless and love on everyone around them, which is, I think, the dream. It's definitely their priority over anything materialistic.
Yeah, they're extremely hospitable. Yeah. In a, like almost like scary way, like, and both of them off the charts. So like, my mom and my dad are different, but they both are like very hospitable. Yeah.
So I think very highly of your parents. Yeah. So moving forward. So now you're successful in your business, and I know that you had, I guess, for lack of a better word, more modest like career to start at like post college. Yeah. But now you're very successful. How has becoming successful financially changed the way you think about money in your life?
So, I think a lot of the ways that my view of money have developed over the years happened prior to Bloom becoming successful. Like, you know, talking about my parents already. Amy, my wife, your sister, has had a huge influence on my life, the way I view money. She is the most generous and financially selfless person I've ever met. Yeah. And that's not just me, you know, being in love with her. Like, she's objectively, and she's always been this way. Like, even as a kid, like, she is.
Her Christmas presents we would buy her would be like, Amy, for Christmas, I got you a goat in India. Like, she would have these lists of like, guys, don't buy me anything. Instead, use your money to donate to this village in Africa that needs grain. Like, and that's what we would do. Yeah. Genuinely. Yeah.
Yeah. So my parents, my wife, you know, certainly my faith, like just reading scripture, like that's shaped my view of money. I think, you know, I joke sometimes like a lot of people got radicalized during COVID. Like I feel like I got radicalized while also kind of simultaneously going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Where,
like, I'm well aware. Yeah.
My my whole view of money sort of like through more of an Austrian economic type of lens now, in the way I view debt, the way I view inflation, the way I view, you know, building my business, like those were very formative in like shaping my view of money. So, you know, all of that, I feel like those major influences in my life happened prior to starting Bloom.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, so now that you do have money, what are some purchases that you've made as a result of having more wealth that have positively improved your life the most? You know, what has mattered?
I would say like trips and experiences.
Family memories.
Yeah, family memories, absolutely. Yeah. So with Amy or my kids or, you know, like my wife and I just went to Austria for a week.
It looked awesome.
We got back a couple weeks ago. We went there for an audio show, like the biggest audio show in the world. So we were there for that weekend for that. But then, we spent 4 or 5 days sightseeing and, seeing beautiful nature, going on walks, eating great food. And like, I just feel like the lack of financial stress or pressure of being able to do a trip like that is definitely like a huge blessing. And like, probably the thing I enjoy most on this side of like Bloom, really growing. I think like memories that I've been able to make as a family have all been, and we still did trips and all that before Bloom, but I guess like the lack of like, pressure of like, we ate out last night, we can't eat out again today, or like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're a little more relaxed. Mm-hmm. All right. So what are some purchases, I guess, that you've made that turned out not to matter? You're not wearing a Rolex. You're not, you don't drive Lamborghinis or anything. So I can't think of anything super obvious. Wow. I'm just curious if you've made any type of like purchase that you look back on and you're like, that was just kind of a waste. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. So I've always been like, even from a young age as like, toddler, or like a young kid, I've always been into like collecting things. Yeah. Like I've loved collecting, like retro video games and trading cards, and like I think there've been seasons in my life where I feel like I can say it can be healthy for me to have like a hobby where I'm like, enjoying kind of like researching and understanding a market and like kind of the thrill of the hunt of like finding this rare Super Nintendo game that I'm adding to my collection. Like that kind of stuff can be fun, and I think like a healthy use of like just having a hobby or whatever. But I think just like accumulating like stuff that I don't need, and like maybe there have been times where I've looked back and thought like I've got like all this plastic or paper or whatever that at one point mattered to me and now it doesn't, and it's sort of like that to a sense like I kind of regret like wasting that money.
Sure.
Now, I don't think that's changed a whole lot since Bloom has been successful. Like I have more discretionary income now, but like I still think like a lot of it just has to do with my heart. Like, why am I buying this thing? Like, what's my goal here? Like, am I buying this because it actually has like a purpose in my life and is like a tool that I can use? Or am I buying it because like I'm bored, or I'm buying it because like
it's like
I think it'll make me feel like good in this moment or whatever. Like just kind of trying to examine those types of purchases.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So I guess on the subject of things that you've dedicated your money to, so you adopted internationally from India. My niece, who I love very, very much, and I'm sure, she's awesome.
All time good.
Yeah. So that was, and we don't have to disclose the amount, but that was expensive. You had to save a lot of money, and that was you adopted her either right before Bloom or
a while before Bloom.
A while before Bloom. Yeah. Okay. I'm bad with my timelines.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
But I guess before you became like very like financially successful, and you were still working more like a salary job with, I guess, more of a modest position. How did the goal of international adoption influence your financial decisions? Because it was a decent amount of money to get her here.
Yeah. So the most financially strapped we in our 18 years of marriage ever was in that season, because I was making a very low middle class salary. Amy was working very part-time. We had a toddler and a baby at home. I mean, Isaac was 3 or 4, Reed was a baby, so we weren't making that much money, and we had to be very diligent about saving for adoption. We sold one of our cars, so we just shared one car. I worked mostly from home, so that worked. We were careful, and
I'm assuming your car was paid off. Yeah. So you weren't driving around a new car that was a $500 a month payment. You were driving a paid off car.
Yeah, and I think like I've always loved selling things online. Like, when I was as young as 12, like I remember on eBay, like selling hockey cards, and like I was able to sell a lot of computer parts on the side while I was working my regular full-time job, which really helped bring in extra income.
Yeah.
So I think like that made a huge difference. Being able to like supplement our income to save for that
yeah,
goal.
and you have a goal, and then that's where your effort's going. And it's not, I mean, obviously there's finances involved, but it's almost like an entire lifestyle is built around that. Kind of like what we were saying with your parents, where like the money is just one way that they live their lifestyle, which is about hospitality and generosity. Mm-hmm. So for you, it's like, yeah, the money is part of what we're doing to help bring Tulsi home, but our entire life is built around bringing Tulsi home.
Sure. Yeah, that's like that type of goal compared to like saving for a trip or something that's less high stakes, so to speak. Definitely made us very sober.
Yeah, like, you weren't saving up to buy a Rolex. You weren't. It wasn't a vanity purchase. It was someone that we love. I love her more than you.
That's not true.
No, I love her as a person more than I love you as a person.
No, that makes sense. That makes total sense. Yeah.
No, obviously as a father, you love her. I'll concede there. I'll concede on that. So what advice would you give to couples that are trying to save for a major life goal? So, I mean, I think a common one now is housing. I mean, again, it's different because, Tulsi's a child, it's a whole human being, but like having a home is huge for people and it feels unreachable to a lot of people. You were making a modest salary and you were able to do something that was quite expensive. What's advice you would have?
I think finding creative ways of bringing in more income is the biggest like advice I can think of. I don't think you're going to be able to save up for something like an international adoption or a home by cutting out your avocados, like, or canceling Netflix. Like, saving $10 a month or $20 a month and those types of things isn't going to make a dent.
It doesn't move the needle.
So I really think like, whether it means being really diligent to grow in your career at your current job, or like in my case, like I was kind of in a position where I didn't really have any upward mobility at the time. So I just did a side hustle.
Yes, a side hustle and grinding it out. Yeah. I think that's good. I think because, again, there's usually multiple ways of like building up your income. So if there is upward mobility, increase your skills, show up a little bit earlier, grind a little bit harder, study more, stay a little bit later. Like, do things to put yourself in a position to get that raise. Yeah. But again, if you're at the ceiling, if you're at the limit, and there's a goal that's really significant and important to you, like you said, making those little cuts, like, all right, we're going to cut out date night every month. Okay, you're saving, $50 a month? Like, that's not going to...
And you're missing out on, like, meaningful
on
times
date nights,
together.
Right. Yeah. There's only so many things you can cut out before you hate your life, right? I'm assuming you and Amy were eating more than just ramen noodles while you were...
Yeah, we were. Yeah, absolutely. So I think, like, there are certainly ways that people look at their budget and realize, like, okay, there's clear red flags here. Like, we're spending $200 a month on beer or something. I don't know, something where it's like completely pointless. Yeah. But like, like maybe a Netflix subscription makes sense. Like, your family needs to be able to watch movies, or maybe like going to the gym is like good for your physical health. So like you can't just like take out every monthly expense. But I think like we're in an age right now where the internet gives us the ability to learn literally anything. Yeah. Like, you could learn any skill. You could sell anything online. You could... There's so many creative ways to make money that really, like, with a little bit of ingenuity and hustle, like, you can bring in some nice side income.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and AI is making it even easier.
To learn, for sure.
Yeah, to learn. I mean, again, I view AI as it's only as useful as the person using it. It's a tool.
Sure, yeah.
So moving on to the next question.
Sure.
How do you and my sister approach financial decisions together? Because I know Amy is very, very frugal.
Yeah.
Amy's someone who would be happy living in a remote village with nothing, dedicating her entire life to everything. And again, our Christmas to her was buying pigs for remote villages. Like, she's not someone who cares about material things.
Yeah. You're very right.
Yeah.
What was the question? How do we approach?
So how do you approach financial decisions together? So, for example, you just went on a trip to Austria.
Mm-hmm.
You could have bought 100 pigs for that. You could have bought a dozen goats. Like, I don't know the economy for that.
Amy and I have definitely we have strengths and weaknesses that are kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum in like when it comes to finances and things like that. So I think like I've probably helped her over the years have a little bit more of like a bigger picture, maybe more relaxed view of money. Certainly in the position we are now is different than before I started Bloom. Like there's just certain things we couldn't do then that now it's just sort of like, hey, it's okay. Like Amy would be the type of person where she would drive an extra hour to save like $10 or something. Yeah. Like, I don't know, go to some other store that has something cheaper. And it's like, well, your time is worth a lot more than $10 an hour. So
part of that's her upbringing.
I think there are a lot of principles there that are good. And I think there are still ways that she views money that are wiser than me. But I just think we've helped kind of like balance each other out. So like the most recent example I could think of for like making a financial decision together is our deck like rotted and fell apart. Yeah. It was like deteriorating for a couple of years. So we had to, kind of talk about like, hey, what do we want to budget for like getting this deck removed? Do we want to get a deck or do we want to just get like a patio or whatever? So something like that, that's more of like a major decision. Yeah. We definitely talk about it together, try to have unity in like our decision making process. Like I think I tend to be a little bit more of like a quick decision maker. Maybe tend to be a little bit more of an underthinker, and she can tend to be a little bit more of like an overthinker. And like, I think we balance each other out well. So but I think a lot of it is just like communicating, like not making assumptions, not like, hey, I'm gonna email this concrete guy and place a deposit without telling her, or she's not gonna just. I think you need to be communicating those things and just like being honest with each other, humble with each other, Yeah,
so what you're saying is basically just it comes down, having effective conversations comes down to respectful and honest communication and then care and consideration for your partner and their needs. And then once you kind of have that established, you can make a decision together. Yeah. Move forward. Mm-hmm. Have there ever been times where you guys have disagreed about money in a way where you're kind of at an impasse? And like how, if so, how did it go?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. I mean, in our...
Because there can be times where you perfectly communicate, you're perfectly transparent, so is she, and you're still not aligned.
Yeah, there are a lot of examples that are small. That'd be like, we have maybe an argument or a disagreement about something and we work it out. We seek to understand each other. We, if there's any kind of conflict resolution, like trying to be humble in the way that we do that. I think like the most recent, a major example where we disagreed on was I bought a Ben & Jerry's scoop shop in Ocean City last year. Yeah. And she was very apprehensive about it at first, didn't think we should do it. I kind of made my case for why I thought it was a good idea. Bloom is doing really well. I didn't feel like there was any like real risk per se in that like our friend Justice who sold it, like he essentially just sold it to me for like cost of like the freezer and the
he gave you like a pretty good deal.
Well, it wasn't even so much a deal. It was just like I took over the lease, which is on the Ocean City Boardwalk, huge. Yeah. And I just kind of bought the equipment. Yeah. So the upfront costs were very minimal, but there was still like it was still a big decision. Like it's a lot of time that went into it, and still goes into running that store. So I think like that would have been an example of maybe like me kind of like convincing Amy to do something that she didn't necessarily like want to do. Now, I don't think I did that perfectly. I also do think that like I did it in a like respectful, honest way. Like I wasn't trying to strong arm her.
Yeah, you're not mean, but like
yeah, it was just, we just had completely different
different views.
And I think she got to a point where she had faith to go forward and do it and buy it, but it took multiple conversations.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, she was right. I never should have bought it.
Yeah. Always listen. Amy's always right.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah. So, sorry. So, I guess still on the topic of wealth, Andrew, what are some problems that you think money solves well?
Problems money solves well. I mean, like money it's a double-edged sword in that like it does give you the ability to like it gives you optionality and it gives you like kind of freedom in a sense to do things that you couldn't otherwise do without it. Like even just thinking about like building my business, like I invest the majority of our profit back into the business, and like there are things that we can do that we just couldn't without money. So like I think you can solve problems with money, but like money doesn't solve like the problems of like my heart, or like it doesn't solve like it's not this type of thing where it's just like if you think to yourself like, man, I'm really selfish and I'm really greedy and I'm really covetous, and like if I made more money, those problems would go away. Like those problems don't go away.
No, they don't. There's never enough,
different temptations.
Rockefeller's one of the richest men of all time. Like, what's your favorite dollar? He's like, the next one. Like it's just it's a kind of a never-ending, chasing your tail.
Yeah. So, but like at the same time, if our hot water heater breaks, like
money solves it.
9 years ago, it'd be like, oh crap, like where are we gonna get $800 or whatever? And now it's just like, we just hire. Yeah. It's not nobody. It's not that we don't care.
It's not.
But it's just like it's not a problem. It's just like that stinks. The hot water heater broke. Like we'll just get it fixed, or we'll get a new one or whatever. And like there's practical ways that having higher income than expenses, or savings or whatever, like it can be very practically beneficial.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think obviously it solves well just any practical need, and there are peace of mind things too. So, for example, health insurance is huge. Obviously, you own a home, so you pay a mortgage. Money solves that. I rent. Money pays rent for me. I think part of like the peace of mind, it's not that like, oh, you have to have money in order to be peaceful, but the idea, like for me and Nelly, if we didn't have money on hand when we had our like housing situation that I talked about in a previous episode, basically what happened is we were going to buy a home 2 days before closing. The guy demanded an extra $17,000 in cash. We said, no way, we're not doing that. Please be reasonable. You signed a contract. His response was to threaten to murder us. So we walked away from the deal.
Nice.
If I didn't have money on hand to send us to like a nice apartment, that would have been extremely stressful.
Yeah.
And again, situations, there was a cancer treatment before we were married and before she was on my insurance and she was on her like not as good insurance. We had to go in for a cancer treatment. We got hit with a $900 bill, just like that. Like I had to pay $900 or she would not receive the cancer treatment. I'm like, thank God that I had that,
Yeah, for sure.
So money does solve a lot of those practical needs. But the next question of what problems does money not solve is kind of what you had already talked about. It doesn't solve issues of greed. It doesn't solve issues of, like you said, covetousness. Like there's, again, there's a quote that I use in one of my workshops: having money isn't everything, but not having it is. So not having money can be everything, because how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to keep my lights on? How am I going to feed my family? But no, having it is not everything. It's tale as old as time.
Yeah. More money, more problems.
Yeah.
I mean, you of all people should know that statement.
Yeah.
Like, that's it is true that like...
Why me of all people? Me and Big E go way back?
You of all people, Stanley. It's a...
It's Stanley. Sorry. Yeah. I didn't hear you right.
But yeah, like I think, money can certainly create... it is true. Like it can create problems in the sense that like you could end up being very distracted by kind of like possessions.
Yeah.
And like you could be distracted by like, okay, you know, like there's something very beautiful about living a simple life where you're not like caught up in all the time consuming stuff that involves like caring for things or paying for things. Or so I think like, you know, it's good to like not kind of devote yourself to things that take up a lot of time that are just like around like either acquiring more money or tending to the things that you bought with money or whatever.
And I would say, as also like a specific problem money does not solve would be relationships. I don't think if there's a relationship that has problematic communication, either there's a lack of respect or just it's toxic, throwing money at it isn't going to solve the issues. You know, again, in the first episode, my dad talks about this really wealthy family that he used to house sit for. The dad was so uninvolved in his kids' lives that his daughter bought a horse and the dad didn't know it. You know, or the daughter went to a swim meet and my dad went to the swim meet to like part of like investing in the family, just being kind to them, being there for them. He realized like, I went to the swim meet and I'm just like some guy and you've never been to the swim meet and you're the dad.
That's a very sad but true picture of what, you know, wealth could look like for a lot of people. I think in the same way, like the greatest joys that I have in my life, you know, being married to my best friend, like having kids that I adore, having like wonderful extended family friends, like all these things, like they were all there before I became financially successful. So like I don't feel like, you know, like money can definitely be a helpful tool and it can certainly give you, you know, optionality and freedom in certain ways. But like at the same time, like the best parts of my life really haven't changed since Bloom became successful. Like,
and I would say like if you and Amy were happy together when you didn't have a lot of money, you know, and now you're on the other side of it, but the relationship, like your love for Amy hasn't changed either way. So I would say like if there's a relationship and you're unhappy without money, magically having a ton of money is not going to make the relationship better automatically.
Right. Now to play the devil's advocate, I like financial stress is probably the biggest factor to like depression, anxiety, you know, marital conflict. So if you're in a position where you're like really like financially strapped, and like I do think that like it could be helpful to do a side hustle or, you know, be more ambitious in your career. Like I look back on certain points of my career and like I kind of wish I was more ambitious. Like I think there are ways where it's like, okay, the goal shouldn't be like I want to get rich and I want a fancy car and I want a huge house, but like it's definitely helpful for relationships. It's helpful for being able to bless other people, be generous, like be able to just like pay for someone's meal, like by having the finances to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, do you ever see the movie Parasite? No.
Oh, wait. Is the South Korean one?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that movie rules.
Oh, it's awesome. And I think it's one of the most effective stories about wealth and how wealth interacts with us. And one of the most insightful parts of the movie was the woman kind of leaning back, and the husband says, "Why aren't you nice like the rich lady who lives here?" Said that to the poor lady. Poor lady looks at him and goes, "Are you kidding me? If I had all this money, I would be the nicest person ever." Just the idea of like they were under so much stress that it was constantly like eating at them.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie. So again, like they're under stress. Money would theoretically solve it, but at the end of the day, you can still be human, and there's going to be hard issues that you have that money would not solve. You could still have all that and be empty. Final question here, Andrew. What role does generosity play in a fulfilling life?
So, you know, looking at this as a Christian, you know, I'm going to guess that you're going to have viewers who are either Christians or they're not. Like, my view of generosity is that it's a commandment. Like, it's about like obedience. Like, if you read the Bible, there's hundreds of verses about money and generosity. Like, it's not really like optional. Like, I'm you know, completely devoted to my wife, and like I view, you know, the 10 Commandments as like kind of non-negotiable, like the same way that generosity in a sense is like non-negotiable. Like you're it's not like a nice thing to do if you're wealthy. I think it's something that everybody's called to do however they can.
Yeah.
So I think about like, you know, your question was like, how is it fulfilling?
What role does it play in a fulfilling life?
It plays a huge role. Like I think, you know, you've probably heard people say like that Jesus talked more about money than any other topic. And I don't think that's entirely true, but it was something that he taught a lot about. And like, I think if your sort of worldview or the way that you're going through life doesn't include a desire and like real goals about how to be generous with what you've been given, like you're missing out on a huge thing.
Yeah.
Like I think about the parable of the talents all the time. Like it sobers me. Like I think like God has given me, he's entrusted me with, you know, whether it's 1 talent or 2 talent or 5, like I want to be faithful with that. I want to be able to really like,
faithful
you know,
with what you're given.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, you know, maybe, in this stage of my life, I've been given more than in previous stages of my life. And I think that gives me more opportunities to be generous. Yeah. Doesn't mean that my call to generosity is necessarily any different. Right. But I still think like the level in which I am like intentional about it, like, okay, setting goals like, hey, we want to be able to do this at the end of the year. Or if, you know, if Bloom hits these certain sales numbers, we're going to set aside this amount of money to give to this ministry that we're a part of. Like those types of things I think are really important rather than, you know, kind of just thinking like, oh, well, if I come into a bunch of money, maybe I'll give some of it away. Like kind of having a haphazard view of generosity.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's baked into your lifestyle, whether you have money or not. And that's, again, that is part of being fulfilling. I think, and it's nice, like, the more money you have, the more expanded your scope becomes, like, the more people you can help. Mm-hmm. Like, I would love to be able to help people the way your parents do, but I am more limited because I don't make what your dad makes. Limited in terms of, like, how many people I could have over for dinner. And, you know, I can't feed as many mouths as he can feed. But the idea of, like, no, but this is still our lifestyle. This is still what we do regardless.
And you're faithful with what you've been given. So, like, if there's, you know, if one of your friends has a need, if one of my dad's friends has a need or my friends has a need, like, maybe the amount of money that we can offer to support somebody is different. Like, the amount of money that you or my dad or me or whomever. Yeah. But the point is more like our heart. Like, are we holding our hands, like the money that we have in our hands, like holding them open and like being willing to be generous with that money? Or are we thinking like, no, I need to make sure I'm putting this amount in my 401k and I need to make sure that I'm saving for this thing that I want to do, and like kind of having like a closed-fisted, like, you know, I'm not going to give, you know, unless all of my other goals are fulfilled first. Yeah. Like you could end up dying and, you know, none of those kind of goals were ever totally fulfilled, and you just missed out on a lifetime of generosity that probably would have made you a lot happier. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and that's again a classic, like, tale as old as time. Like, it's happy to help other people and bless other people. I think your dad is much happier blessing his community the way he does than he would be if he had 3 extra cars. You know, like, I think for you, for sure. You're much happier. I mean, I know a lot of stuff you do. There's even different, like, refugee families that you guys help, and blessing and helping these people is much more rewarding and fulfilling for you than it would be if you had luxury watches or. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So, all right. Thank you, Andrew. It's been awesome having you here. Sure. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. For anyone who's made it all the way through, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.